camera. You give it off, down.
Give it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Screen.com once again. I'm Alex Navarro.
I'm Matthew Rorie.
Yes, you are. Doing something a little bit different today. This is not one of our trademark token features, you know,
sure.
with the clever names and what have you. This is just us talking about some movies.
I call this feature Trapped. I like it.
That's good. I like that. It's a good title. It looks good on a marquee.
Exclamation point, yeah.
Looks good on a marquee. No, so the reason we're doing this little sit down here is Rory and I noticed a fairly recent trend in films that have sort of a claustrophobic, kind of a trapped feel to them. You know, it's a theme that's been in film for many years. You know, it's always a good source of tension.
It's kind of ramping up recently, though.
Terror.
Yeah,
you know,
terror.
People, I'm a claustrophobic myself. You know, dread.
Many people are.
So movies like, for instance, like Lebanon.
Sure.
Which is all set inside a tank.
Mm-hmm.
Devil, which is, you know, the people trapped in the elevator while the devil kills them.
I think the apotheosis, though, the end state of this whole genre is Buried.
Buried, which is 90 minutes of Ryan Reynolds trapped in a coffin.
Camera never leaves a coffin.
Never leaves a coffin. So, with that said, you know, we got to thinking. We were talking. We were having girl talk.
Yeah.
And we started thinking about some of the movies that...
My big pink phone.
Yeah, we started thinking about some of our favorite movies, just, you know, not necessarily our top exact ones, you know, because there's tons of movies that are like this, but like some of our favorite, you know, examples in movie history of like this sort of like, this style of filmmaking, this sort of, you know, that level of, that type of tension, that type of sort of claustrophobia.
Totally.
So we're just going to list off some of our favorites, favorite examples, and we're just going to hop right into it.
Go for it.
Do you want to do yours first?
Sure, I'll go with my number 3 choice, which is going to be Saw. The original Saw from the original Saw series of Saw movies.
Yes.
Saw in it.
Saw. I actually, you know, as cheeseball as those movies have become over the years, I still have a certain affection for the first one, being efficient and sort of cheap as it is.
The first one really kind of built a weird genre, a weird universe, and it kind of got it too exploited over much. There have been 7 of them now or something like that. Saw a movie every Halloween is what they're kind of coming out with.
Pretty much, yeah.
But the first one is kind of... It's lost its luster a little bit because of the ones that came after it, but it still has a really effective bit with Carrie Elwes and somebody else in a room chained to shit, and they don't know how they're going to get out. They can't.
And they've been tasked, like, saying, like, you know, the dude, like, has to hack his own leg off if he wants to go save his family or whatever. And there's all these like little weird teases that, you know, Jigsaw does to them over the course of the movie. And yeah, no, it's like that is a really tense, awful environment to be stuck in.
It's not quite as pure as some of these other movies are because they do cut away from it a lot.
Yeah, because there's stuff going on externally where like the guy's family has been kidnapped and you know like but that like adds to the pressure of like trying to get the hell out of that room too, which is sort of, you know, kind of a bonus thing.
And the rest of the Saws are just kind of like, here you're in a trap and you're gonna die if you don't do something really horrible.
The second movie had a little bit of that because it was several people trapped in a house that was all booby trapped, but like there was a lot more space to move around in. You know, it didn't have quite the same feel to it.
Yeah, Saw 1 was almost a stage play.
Yeah,
in a room,
in its own way.
I really like that movie a lot, but I think you have a third choice as well.
I have a third choice, and it's definitely one that like is sort of, it's unique in that it's not really about an enclosed space. It's actually about a big open space.
Or the agoraphobia.
Yes, this would be Open Water. It's a pretty simple movie. It's 2 people that have been stranded on like a scuba diving trip.
Sure.
The boat is gone. They are left out in the middle of the open ocean.
Yeah.
And they are forced to just kind of be there. Like, you know, they have no means of escape. They have no means of communication other than to hope that the boat comes back. And so, like, it's this married couple, and, like, over the course of it, you can see them start to kind of break down and lose their shit as it goes on because, you know, they're...
Totally understandable, too.
Yeah, because they're just getting increasingly stressed out. Like, there are
sharks are coming around.
Yeah. And, like, it's you know, it's one of those movies that, like, I thought sounded super gimmicky at first, but, like, as I watched it, I got, like, more and more tense, like, more and more just like, oh, God.
What would you do?
Really uncomfortable. Yeah.
Tough stuff.
Very tough stuff.
Good.
So what would be your number 2 pick?
I'm going to go with Phone Booth. We don't talk a lot about Joel Schumacher on this site because...
Not in a positive way.
Not really worth doing, but...
No.
And a lot of these other movies are just people trapped in a space, but... Phone Booth, he's not trapped at all. He'll just be shot if he leaves the phone booth.
That's the thing.
It's kind of a cool little twist.
He is trapped in a way, but like he's stuck there, like, you know, because there's a gun pointed at his head, and if he leaves, And all the cops don't understand that. So like they're like, why won't you leave this damn phone booth?
Because the first thing is that somebody shoots at him and everybody thinks that he did it. So all the cops show up to kind of get him out of there and where's your gun and everything. Eventually people kind of, get into it and realize what's going on. But I don't know. The movie is not perfect by any means, but it has a really good concept and it's kind of done really well
tension,
with
though.
Yeah,
like
really good tension.
And Kiefer Sutherland as the sniper is a
the
really
voice.
great menacing presence that sort of like
even though he barely shows up,
makes him being trapped there feel all the more
totally.
tight and just sort of like uncomfortable.
I will say it has a kind of a silly last minute or so.
Sure.
But in terms of this kind of genre, I think it really works well.
Fair enough.
How about you? Number 2?
Number 2 for me is the original Night of the Living Dead. Now, I'm a gigantic zombie film dork. I love them. And there have been many zombie films to sort of feature people trapped in a space or whatever. There's the Dawn of the Dead, people are trapped in the mall.
Yeah.
There's in Wreck, for instance, they're trapped in that building.
Sure.
But the cool, the thing about the original Night of the Living Dead, and even like the remake from the '80s, which I think isn't
I don't
bad.
mind it.
It isn't half bad. Tony Todd's great. But what's so great about it is like the thing that makes zombies really terrifying to me is the idea of them sort of surrounding.
Like that piece of art from the video game.
Yeah.
Where you're on a car and they can't get to you, but you have a million zombies.
There's a million zombies surrounding you, and that's like and when the characters in that movie get trapped in that house, and the zombies just start like gravitating toward the house, and they start getting start
beating
banging
on
the windows, and like they have to board themselves in, and they're like trying to find a way out of there. Like that is a really great claustrophobic vibe that George Romero put down there, especially considering not all those characters get along.
Yeah, that's that was actually what I was gonna say. Like you have to have the kind of tension moments. We're trapped here, but we're also trapped here with each other. So.
And there are there's the guy that's the antagonist, of course.
Yeah, what a dick.
Such a dick. So that's. Again, I think my thing with zombies is very much about like the sort of feeling of being overwhelmed and the feeling of like being trapped and unable to like defend yourself properly, and I think that movie really nails that.
And there's been a lot of debate about slow zombies versus fast zombies, but for some reason the slow zombies are even freakier in that kind of like trap situation.
Yeah,
like,
totally, because there's just so many of them, and that's what makes it crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think is your like not necessarily your 100% favorite, but like, what's your favorite example here of this type of film?
Oh, well, it's not only one of my favorite examples of this type of film, but it's also one of my favorite movies ever made. It's called Das Boot.
Yes.
Little Wolfgang Petersen action. Famous, super long movie, super rewarding movie. All takes place on a submarine. Well, a little bits here and there, the beginning and the end, kind of you leave the submarine a bit. But for the most part, you're in a submarine, and it is one of those, I forget how they built the set, but it was proportionally like super, super small. So the camera is always running through the set of the submarine. You can see that it's not, there's a ceiling and a floor and two sides, so it's really tense, really tight, and all these guys are trapped together. There's all kinds of cool stuff. I really like the depth charge scene where they're all kind of trapped underwater, hearing all these depth charges going around. There's also a good part late in the film where they're kind of buried on the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. And all they're doing is kind of sitting there, just hoping the engines restart. And until they do that, they're basically roasting alive. They're just kind of gonna die. And I can't imagine a much more claustrophobic bit than that.
No, there really is no more claustrophobic movie to me than that one. I actually have a hard time sometimes sitting through, not just because of how long it is, but just because of that level of like just discomfort, from watching these guys just like trapped down there. It is just bad.
One of the all-time most ironic endings too, I think.
Sure. Yes.
If you haven't seen it, please see it. It's well regarded.
It's one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard to argue. It's certainly, I think, the best of
Wolfgang Petersen.
His oeuvre. His catalog.
Never-ending story. I like it too, but no, nothing's on the level of Das Boot.
No, absolutely not.
But you have one more choice
I do.
as well?
This is sort of a random pick, but it's one of my favorite horror movies of the last like 10 to 15 years.
Cool.
It is The Descent. One of my claustrophobic things is not just being trapped in an enclosed space, but just being trapped underground.
Oh wow.
That is a really horrifying.
You'll
thing
hate Buried then.
Yeah, that's no, Buried Alive stuff like totally scares the living shit out of me.
Like in Kill Bill 2?
That scene made me uncomfortable.
Wow.
Even like as like light and airy as Kill Bill 2 is, like that really kind of made me a little on edge.
Yeah.
So the Descent, features these women get together, and they're all experienced like cave divers, rock climbers, that kind of thing. Spelunkers, if you will.
I agree.
It's a good term. And they go down into this cave area, which they think they're going. They all think they're going to one place, but one of the friends has decided to take them off the beaten path into this other place that she discovered or knows about. And they want, because she wanted her friends to discover it.
Yeah.
Turns out, not only is it an incredibly dangerous place just because of the terrain and how tight the spaces get, and how just all the unpredictable caves, weird drop-offs, all that kind of stuff. Also, there's horrible nocturnal creatures that live down there that feed on human flesh.
Some kind of, they used to be humans like a few hundred years ago.
Right.
They kind of evolved
Some
into
weird
blind
evolution, basically
branch.
the people of West Virginia that were forgotten about, were shoved down there, and they
have become basically underground. They go up top to hunt.
They're mole men, basically,
Yes.
but with teeth.
Good one, mole men.
And so they frequently surround and hunt these women while they're also trapped in these incredibly tight spaces.
So I'll bring out a couple of good moments from that movie that I like.
Yeah.
I like, even before the monsters show up, I really like the scene where the Sarah is in that little tunnel and she gets stuck.
Yes.
And it's just like how it made me feel so uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
You just empathizing with this woman who's progressively freaking out more and more. She takes pills for anxiety and stuff like that. And later on, I believe it's Sarah again who falls down into the feeding pit.
Yes.
And
that is an ugly, ugly spot.
And if you've seen the poster or any of the trailer, you realize there's one part where she's covered in blood.
Yeah.
And that moment where she's just kind of having to lie still while the guy is on top of her.
Yeah.
Oh.
But at the same time, that movie has one of the best closing shots. It's not the last shot of the movie, but one of the best closing shots where she's escaping from the thing, and you see her literally just punch out of this this foliage, and it's just go up for air, just and that breath of air was what totally I did the
You
same
finally
thing
can
in the
breathe
theater.
now.
I was I can breathe now. Holy shit.
Well, so you saw the U.S. version. Have you seen the U.S. DVD version?
I haven't.
Because did you know there's a different ending in the UK version?
No, I did not know that.
Oh, wow. I will have to inform you about it after we're done filming, because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, I've only seen the U.S. version.
UK version had a slightly more dour ending.
Oh.
So.
Well, I wonder if they would change that because there's a sequel.
Yes.
And so it was perhaps maybe a less sequel-friendly ending?
Yes, but even so, the sequel, from what I've read of it, seems so far-fetched in terms of who shows up again and what happens in it that I think you can probably... It didn't do very well at all. It's not very well regarded, so...
Fair enough.
But that's your number one. That's my number one. No,
All
top
right.
three, actually.
That's great. That's our picks. And, there's tons of movies that we would, that I'll sort
Talk
of follow
about, but
this.
Cube.
I feel, Cube's
Panic
a great one.
Room.
Panic Room. We didn't do much with space. There's a lot of really good, space, Apollo 13 is a pretty good example of that sort of thing. Pandorum is sort of like The Descent, but in space.
Yeah.
Weird cannibalistic monsters floating around.
There are plenty of options here, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe we should let people tell us what they think,
what do you
too.
think? What are some of your favorite examples of these kinds of films? We want to see your lists. We want you to present them to us. Put them in the comments. Put them in your profile.
Send them to me. Send me a
to him.
PM. I'll put them in the community showcase this weekend, and hopefully you guys. And again, if you're interested in this kind of movie, you can either go back and see Devil from last weekend. Don't recommend it.
Not so much.
Buried is in limited release this weekend. It's a little bit better. We'll have a review for that probably today.
Yeah,
I think.
And Lebanon.
Is
fantastic.
Kind of tough to find probably at this point. It's been out for a little while.
Certainly
but
will be on Netflix in the near future.
Yeah,
by all means, check it out. And I think that's going to do it for our little discussion here. Let's not crawl in any tight spaces, but we will bid you adieu and see you next time on Screened Video Features.
Trapped.